Fitz is up. What's up, Fitz? He says, good day, gents. Thanks for this very helpful forum. It is appreciated. I have a client who's getting the smackdown from a competitor. That sucks. The organic went straight down like the cliff tourists jump off of Rick's Cafe in Jamaica. Okay. I got them RYS plus a small boost, started weekly press releases and plan a medium link building in 60 days. Site is over 3 years old. Did I miss anything? Well, if your site dropped that you're working on, is it that your site dropped, or is it that your competitor just all of a sudden outranked you? Or is it a combination of both? Because if your site dropped, that leads me to believe that there's probably an algorithmic penalty that's in play. So how do you determine that? Well, one thing you can do is look at Search Console. If you have your site, associated or attached to Search Console, then you can take a look at the manual actions and see if there's any manual actions. Now, that's not the same as an algorithmic action, but I would check there first. And I'm assuming, Fitz, that you know that already, and you probably have. And if it says no manual actions found, then there's a few things that you can do to determine if you're kind of in an algorithmic penalty. Number one, do a brand search, right? And see if your money site, so the self-hosted website for that particular brand, is the first URL to rank. Right? If it's not, for example, I'm assuming it's a local business. So like Yelp, if Yelp outranks your money site for your brand search, then there's a good chance that your website is experiencing some sort of an algorithmic penalty. And then again, that's not going to show in Search Console as a manual action. So these are some of the things you can do. Another thing you can do is search Google for the domain name and see, once again, does the domain name rank number one for the domain name search? If it doesn't, then it's very likely that it's experiencing an algorithmic penalty of some sort. And if that's the case, if that's what you discover, then it's probably either it can be a combination of on-page issues or off-page issues, or a combination of both. Does that make sense? And so then you really have to analyze I always start with the on-page first. Take a look at the site, look at the structure of the site, the internal linking, are any of the pages over optimized? Do you have duplicate content? If you're using WordPress and you're using in your posting and you've got tags, do you have unique tags? Because unique tags on a post create basically a duplicate page of the same post, if that makes sense. So that creates duplicate content. There's just a ton of things that you can do to determine on page if you have issues. We were just talking about this in the mastermind again. Use a web crawler, a site crawler like Screaming Frog, for example, to look at the technical aspect of the site to see if there's any issues with broken links, URLs, duplicate meta tags, or SEO titles, that kind of stuff. So Screaming Frog is a really good tool for crawling a site to find potential issues with the site structure itself. Then you go again, look at backlink profile. Everything that we teach, fortunately, is about creating an SEO firewall and then doing all of the external link building to that SEO firewall. And that SEO firewall is Google properties and high authority third-party sites that we can use to filter all of anything nasty that we want to do externally. We can do to that, and it basically launders or filters any bad juice or bad equity out and just pushes relevancy into the main entity, which is our primary asset, right? So again, if you're experiencing a significant drop and it's not just that your competitor outranked you all of a sudden, it's probably some sort of penalty, whether manual or algorithmic. And there's, like I mentioned, a few different ways to look at it to determine if there's an algorithmic penalty. If it's manual, then you'll know, it'll say so in Search Console, and then figure out what is causing the penalty and try to remedy that. Fortunately, if it's an on-page thing, that can be fixed rather easily. And after it gets fixed, you'll generally see an improvement within a matter of a few weeks. Off-page SEO issues are a bit tougher to clean up. And again, it could be a million different things, but I've in the past been very successful with actually disavowing links if I found really toxic links pointing to the site. Although Marco would tell you not to do that if Marco was here, but since he's not, he can't rebut what I'm saying. But he always said, don't ever use disavow tool. But I've actually been successful with getting off-page penalties removed from disavowing links. So it's been a couple of years since I've done that, because I don't do off-page link building direct to the money site anymore. We do everything the way that we teach. So I haven't had to experience that. But years ago, I would take on clients that already were experiencing issues, and I would, figure out first do a backlink. Well, it's always on page first, but then I would get to the off-page analysis and figure out what could be potentially causing problems, and then disavow, bad links essentially. So anybody want to comment on that, Chris or Adam?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, again, I would start with on-page stuff first, determine if it's an algorithmic penalty. If it's just that somebody's outranking you, well, then as far as the steps, yeah, put all the pieces together, Fitz. That's key. We talk about this, right? Syndication network, RYS drive stack plus G site that is mirrored, theme mirroring. You mirror the structure of those as the same type of structure that you have on your website. Then you can do press releases, which is kind of like a link building tool anyways. And additional link building to your SEO firewall, create an ad ID page. That's what we call the entity loop. That's how you close that entity loop. You want to do all of that stuff. When you put all those pieces together, then that's really when you'll start seeing significant results. But if you're experiencing a penalty, again, I would try to remedy that first before, or while you're building the other components, putting the other pieces together. I would work on trying to figure out and work on whatever's causing the penalty is what I'm saying. So.